All right, guys, it has been 2 weeks now since the WNBF show, since my first bodybuilding show, and I've wanted to make a video talking about it, and I've wanted to talk about thoughts on it, but in all honesty, I just needed a bit more time to think about it, to reflect on it, and yeah, it was brilliant. It was brilliant. To be able to win my first show was just not something I expected. Like, the main thing that I mentioned in the last video was that the initial plan timeline for me was the 27th of July, was the end of July. And I went to my coach initially in November and I said, I'm off the back of doing British Nationals powerlifting. I'm heavy. I'm Anthony Joshua, I'm heavy, I'm about 104 kilos. I want to do a show next year because I'm away for the whole of August. So it has to be July. And he said to me, honestly, which I really respected at the time, I don't think that's going to be possible. You know, you've got a lot of body fat to lose. It'll be a really difficult prep. It'll blah, 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 all of this. And I just said, look, I'll do it. Truthfully, probably not knowing exactly what I was getting myself in for. But then for him, I went back on the messages and saw when we first actually spoke about the WNBF show, and it was the 31st of March. So in that time period, for me to change his mind enough for him to then suggest, let's do the WNBF show. He actually suggested an earlier show at the end of May, but I was at a wedding and I was like, no, please give me an extra couple of weeks. And yeah, so to do that and then be able to win and have such a good experience with it at a point where I still feel like I was 7 weeks out. You know, I was in terms of the timeline, and yeah, we'll it's here. I'm here Monday morning before work, nice and relaxed, showing how easy it is to make the breakfast and keep on top of the food and prepare the meal for lunch. So I'll be doing all of that in the background, but I want to just, yeah, I want to talk about it because, you know, my main concern going into that was conditioning. It was feeling like I wasn't ready. So first on the agenda is electrolytes and getting some water in. So just while we're doing this, all I really want to do is take you through not going to talk about peak week or the time leading up. You know, I was eating a lot of food. I was really filling up into it. That was good. Maybe at some point I'll talk about that. But peak week, to be honest, was a bit of a blur. Like I say, I was really tormenting myself with the concept of not being ready. Is this a crazy thing to do? Are we too early? I'm too soft and this, whatever. So peak week was just a blur of, yeah, some more food, and then just checking in every day, trying to distract myself from what was coming. The worst I'd say I actually felt was driving there on the day. For this, by the way, because I haven't done this on YouTube before, we're doing 200 milliliters of egg whites, 2 whole eggs. It's actually 203 milliliters. So do I even care about bodybuilding? The worst part was the drive there. I went with my girlfriend, and I reckon on the drive there I was pretty silent. It was just nerves. I was like, what have I signed up for? And to be honest, the thing that alleviated a lot of that was actually getting there and seeing just how many people were there, seeing that, okay, this is a big event. Like, this is cool. There's a lot of guys, big black tracksuits, big gasp tracksuits, you know, like, it was cool. I think that's the bottom line of what I was like, okay, yeah, it was so easy to pick, obviously, who was competing, because everyone had the face that just went in like this. And then we had the first win of the day. This is so small. This is so, we were doing registration. It's packed room. And, you know, you got a lot of people in there that are pretty hungry. They want to get back to their routine. They want to get back to hotels. They want to whatever. And they're delaying the registration, like, very slightly. I positioned myself next to, I just thought in my head, I thought they'll register us upstairs. So position myself next to the stairs, and then we were one of the first people to register. So in my head I was like, we've won the first round. That meant as one of the first people to get tanned, all of this. When I actually did the registration for my class just as men's physique, if I haven't said that, it's just done by tall and short. And so I get measured. I also got weighed. When I got weighed there, wearing everything, I was like 89 kilos, which is heavy. And so I got measured. Bear in mind, my girlfriend stood behind me, and I've claimed 6 foot for the entirety of my life. And I get measured at like 5'11" and a half, and that gets shouted out. So, although I won the class of men's physique tall, in my own private life, I am now a short king, and reminded of that most days. So yeah, while we eat the first course. Eggs, egg whites. Right, first course is done. Main thing I was thinking before going on stage, it was literally just the work is done, nail the posing. Like, you've practiced a lot of the posing, just do it well. And I kept hearing like smatterings of people saying, "Judge, I just want to see you enjoy yourself, you know, I just want to see it." And that was absolutely ringing in my head. And I was like, look, you've put so much work into this. This is a big thing, you know, show that, you know, have the confidence, do all of this. And because that was the one thing that was in my head beforehand, because I can't stand, you know, in this room or outside and do check-ins and be smiling and like doing all of that, and you know, the stage, but like, I find that really difficult. And I always thought I'll be able to do it on the day, and I was grinning like a Cheshire cat when I was out there the whole time. My whole thing before was, will I enjoy this? Will I enjoy it? And as soon as I got out there, that subsided. I was like, this is cool. Like, I love this. It's great. It's a lot more physical than you think. It's so loud from people like shouting in there, so it's intense. My hearing is not the greatest, and I was in the middle. I didn't know much before going in, outside of, if you're kept in the middle, that is a good sign. So I started banging the middle. And then they call numbers, so they call you, so they change positions, so the judges can see you in different positions. And you know, if you stay in the middle, good sign. So I'm staying in the middle the whole time, and that's really lucky, because I couldn't hear any numbers that were being called. I could not hear a thing. If I'd have got called, I'd have just stood there, continuing to pose, and it would have been pretty awkward. So yeah, stay in the middle. And I knew that was a good sign. And then we had the individual routine, which I thought was a bit worse than the posing. I just didn't. When I look back at the video of it, it was all right, but I just didn't think. I felt like I was rushing a little bit through it. But it is short anyway, and it's not long. And then you've got a pose down, and I just hit every sort of bodybuilding pose I know, which my coach found quite amusing. But that's not assessed. So that's just have some fun. And for me and my physique, that's just hitting like loads of side chest and side triceps and most musculars. Like that's the things which I like outside of the men's physique posing. And I also just thought you'd done 2 rounds of men's physique posing, so you know, there's throw some other things in. And then you do the results, and they read it 5-1, and this was such a sort of whirlwind experience that I have no idea what I was thinking going into that. I don't know where I thought I'd placed. I don't know if I thought I placed. I was just stood there, just like, okay, we're still in it. I think the time that I thought I'd won was when the guy who was announced second, I thought was the main guy to compete with. So when he was announced second, and I knew I'd been in the middle the whole time, I'd think, okay, could be on. Because it's either that point, I mean, that point's actually pretty terrifying, because it's either you're first or you're done. And that is weird. That is like, oh my God. Not done, but it's like you're first or you're in place. Yeah, so then it calls out first, and I'm like, I've done a lot of sport in my life. I've done a lot of different events. That was the most overwhelmed I've ever been, winning something, because you've put so much into it. but everyone on that stage has, you know, you've said no to family events, you've said, you've turned up with Tupperwares of food, you've had people look at you a bit strangely, you've eaten the same thing day after day, you've had to explain multiple times why you're doing this thing, you've done however many steps a day, however much cardio a day, trained with intensity, practice posing, you've poured a lot into this. There's not anyone who can stand up on that stage, and that's why I think anyone who does it, be proud of that process, because you've poured loads into it. You've poured loads into it. I think that's why it was quite emotional when I won. And then so I get back. Then the kind of the tension is relieved between you and all the boys that are competing. So you're having a nice little chat. They're like, let's get in pictures, talking about different stuff. But I'm getting pulled for a drug test immediately. So the guy's there, and I'm like, yeah, let's go. And I felt bad because like I was kind of making him wait a couple of times. I was talking to a couple of boys, and I was like, all right, let's go. And I was pretty dehydrated at this point, so I was actually really concerned about being able to pee. And then as he takes me out this door and then into another one, and there's a camera set up like this, to be fair, and a woman standing there with a mic, and I'm like, okay, this feels like the weirdest drugs test I've ever been a part of. But no, that's like a post-match interview for socials and everything. And you realise you've never done a post-match interview about anything in your life. And no one's ever asked you about something immediately after it's happened, when the emotions are so raw. And you understand how people get caught in the things they say, because I was really overwhelmed with emotion. I kind of said that in the interview. I actually really liked that interview because I am not someone who, my emotions stay within this line. I try and keep it pretty within that. And at that point, it's a very rare moment that you'll see me, bang, like I'm just buzzing, over the moon, talking like James Maddison after he wasn't a part of the Europa League final win. But that's by the by. So and then I go do the drug test. I managed to pee. I actually managed to pee an obscene amount, which, given how dehydrated I was, made no sense. So that's a pretty irrelevant detail. And I haven't been popped yet, so hopefully that's all good. No, obviously, I think it's really good that, you know, as soon as you're off stage, you get tested like that. That's if you win. And then I think for the Supernaturals, in a couple of months, I think everyone's tested, everyone's lie detected. So yeah, it was good. I was happy that I was, even though at the time it was a bit like, oh my god, right, if I write my name down. And the guy said to me, he was like, the amount of people that come off and they're sort of writing their name and they're getting it wrong, or they're writing their address and they're getting it wrong because they're just overwhelmed. So then I go see all my family. I want to hug everyone. No one wants to hug me because I'm not only crazy tanned, I've got this I'm glazed. I've got olive oil glaze on me as well. All of them, that's a pretty niche thing. No one else has got any experience in bodybuilding. And for them to see it and enjoy it, I think it really won them over. Overall was really good fun as well. That's quite a few hours later, so you got to get some food in, relax. I was more focused on the relaxing at this point, primarily because the only people that had stayed this late are the people that have won. So there's just less people around, and it's a more serious vibe, I would say. But in a good way. Like, I was backstage with all the other winners in these like little rooms, and the only way I can describe it is proper like 2001 WWE. And it was cool. I liked it for that reason, because it was intense. Like after we'd competed the first time, and you know, I've won, I'm chatting with loads of the boys, you know, they're there with their mates, their family, I'm talking with them, few of them, you know, pints in hand, they've travelled down from somewhere, like it's really good vibes, really relaxed. But then when you get to the overall, everyone's still competing, and it should be intense. It should, you know, it's still competition. We're not done yet. And yeah, it really made me think of that old school WWE. And there were two clips I saw, which, or I remembered, which it made me think of. One was, I think it's Edge, John Cena, and Rey Mysterio, but I might have got one of them wrong. Where Rey Mysterio is doing pull-ups and then he pulls down the whole thing. One was that, and the other was really niche. There was a clip I saw of Triple H, RVD, and Ric Flair, and Triple H is digging out Ric Flair, and it's kind of the start of Evolution. that's really specific, but that's how it felt backstage. It was kind of just like everyone's there, like looking. I wouldn't say anyone's casing out. I wouldn't say there was any negativity, but you know, you're focused and you're about to go back on stage. You know, you've got to amp yourself back up to do it. So then we get out and do it, and it's intense. It is, you know, it's really loud in this in this theatre, and the overall winner was in crazy shape. And considering the context I said before, of, you know, I was meant to be 7 weeks out. I knew the thing that would hold me back would be that like razor sharp conditioning, and he was just crazy shape, like crazy. And yeah, I mean, everyone said to me it was a thing of being second, but they don't call that. So I don't know. I was in the middle. Again, I didn't have to get moved, which great, because I couldn't hear even more. Like, there's one point they asked us to move down, and I'm just stood there in a front pose, just smiling, like, yeah. And the guy next to me was like, "Can you just?" And yeah, no worries, mate. But I swear I couldn't hear a thing. And yeah, so then finish the overall, go see my girlfriend, see my family. Everyone's just in such a good mood. To see a bunch of other competitors. So the next stage of breakfast is the oats. When I got in, and I never have this, I always sleep like a baby. I always say it's my biggest strength in bodybuilding and building muscle. Everything is I sleep like an absolute baby. I went to sleep at midnight. I woke up at 2, and I was up, and that has not happened to me for a very long time. I was up. There was no part of me that was getting back to sleep. I was absolutely wired. I think I woke up, checked in at like 5 o'clock in the morning. I wrote down a bunch of stuff. Maybe I should look at that. But yeah, my main concern was, would I like it? And I think the biggest concern for me was, this was such a personal thing to me. I'd been in the gym for so long, and I think for a lot of people that are seriously into the gym, competing in bodybuilding is a bit of a pipe dream. It's the equivalent of people saying, "Oh, we could move to Australia one day, or we could do this." And for most people, those pipe dreams stay pipe dreams, because what if it doesn't go well? Like, what if you do it and it's not the dream that you thought it was, and you end up losing this thing that's kind of close to your heart? And that was what I was really concerned about. You know, all this time of, oh yeah, I could compete, yeah, you could compete, yeah, you could compete, and then you're there, and it's the next day, and it's like, right, okay, and then for it to all go well, it's just such a release. So looking back, I'm just absolutely buzzing that for a show that was early to have such a good result, to come in really full, and to know that there's another level to go to for the next show, which is now 5 weeks away. Is great. It's great. Like, I really felt at home up there. As cringy as that sounds, example of with a lot of people in my family, but small example that me and my dad go walking every Saturday morning for like 3-4 hours, rain or shine. We actually were there on the day that Michail Antonio crashed his Lamborghini in the forest. We were walking the dog in the forest. It was awful. Talk about rain or shine, that was horrendous weather. And on these walks, I've had so many different mates that have come, done the walk, done it for, you know, a lot of weeks. And we stop off in a pub. He has a couple pints. I have a Diet Coke and a coffee. And it's pretty the closest I've been with my dad, you know. And that's the result of bodybuilding. It's just this, you know, there's all these little things that are so outside of I think what people would perceive from this as a sport. But you know, the drive to do some more cardio, to do more steps, has led me to just probably understand my dad's views on things better than I have done at any other point in my life. So that's just a tiny detail. And everyone's been great. Girlfriend, mum, friends, everyone has been. But that's always something that sticks in my head, and that's one of the fondest memories I'll have of this prep. But I said I would do this so I could show how easily you can do the breakfast before work. So I'm heading into work in a bit. It's now 7:20. I still got these oats to eat because I'm rambling here. And like I say, it's my favourite meal of the day, so stop distracting me from it. If you enjoy someone who loves training and loves competing, subscribe. If you like someone with loads of fancy edits and really cool gear, that's unfortunately not me. So don't subscribe. that was my recap on WNBF, my first ever show. Absolutely loved it. I thought it was a great event. It was great to meet loads of other competitors, great to meet loads of other people that are doing this all the time. And yeah, it was class. Still 2 weeks later, I feel like I'm going to start my day today buzzing because I've been talking about this and I'm remembering it all, and it was great. But yeah, see you in the next one.